This is Snake Eyes. He is an Action Force commando, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but he's 37 years old. I remember when I was a boy that I would save up, then eagerly head to the local Woolworths to go and buy action figures, specifically Action Force figures. Apparently the branding changed sometime in 1989 when the European Action Force merged with its American counterpart, the far more well-known G.I. Joe. I had one of these Snake Eyes figures, but I have no memory of what happened to him. Out of all of the figures I had as a boy, he's the one I missed most. Him and the Action Force SAS Commando I had, who had a canoe with wheels. I mean, how else would you push it around on the floor? Of course it had wheels. All Action Force figures came with a collectible file card you could cut out of the packaging. His says he's a commando whose code name is Snake Eyes. His particulars are classified, of course, but he's a qualified expert in all NATO and Warsaw Pact small arms, a black belt in 12 different fighting systems, and highly skilled in the use of edged weapons. Snake Eyes was tempered on the anvil of life until he was as dangerous as a razor-edged sword flailing in the dark. The Action Force team sheathed that sword and harnessed its deadly energy, but even they are wont to forget that even within the safety of its scabbard, the blade retains its cutting edge. The G.I. Joe branded one is pretty much the same, but the text had him living in the high Sierras instead of on the Himalayas. And obviously, instead of Action Force, it says G.I. Joe. Of all his action figure incarnations, this version 2 one is probably the most popular, I think mainly because of his signature visor, which this figure introduced. There are figurines, Funko Pops, heck, there's even a skin for Snake Eyes in Fortnite. This is not the first time he's danced, by the way.
Move those feet!
In the mid-80s, he was the most badass action figure around. In the comics, he was hideously scarred in an explosion which also severed his vocal cords, so he never spoke or removed his mask. Well, he did, but he'd wear a latex mask instead. He's featured in the G.I. Joe films and had his own solo Origins film too. Nope, wrong film. There we go.
It looks like Snake Eyes has something to say.
Snake Eyes doesn't talk.
Actually, I'm Henry Golding.
Henry Golding?
I play Snake Eyes in the new movie.
There's a Snake Eyes movie?
Oh, I guess he talks now. Well, this wouldn't be the first time a comic book character that never took off his headgear did so in a film. Damn you, Hollywood. He was also in the 80s cartoons that came out to make kids want to buy toys and did cool stuff like this.
I'm Snake Eyes.
No, you're not my Snake Eyes. This is my Snake Eyes.
Sure, who'd notice a wet sailor with a parrot and a silent masked man with a timber wolf?
This figure is almost perfect. He has all of his accessories, both of his thumbs, and his groin is intact. On these figures, the front groin section of the waist part is normally the first thing to break. There are plenty of examples of Snake Eyes on eBay with no groin, so I was very happy to get this one. Who has 2 thumbs and an intact groin? This guy. He has a few minor problems though. His arm is particularly loose and the silver dart launcher on his forearm has had some paint rubbed off. Oh, and his O-ring has perished. Okay, some of you must be wondering what that means, so let's open him up and I'll explain. In the older 80s action figures like this one, the legs and body are held together by a rubber O-ring, or I suppose you could use a tiny rubber band like I'm doing. The type to use for this chap is a number 9 O-ring. What you have to do is catch it on the hook between the legs, pull it through the waist, and then loop it over the surround of the torso screw. Then position the parts back together and reinsert the screw. While we're there, I'll sort out his loose arm with a coat of nail varnish. Job done. He can now be trusted to do handstands without falling over, and his fixed joint is probably now the tightest joint he has. In the end, I think I had to do 3 coats of nail varnish in the socket to get this level of stiffness. I should probably get some proper O-rings too, because that elastic band is just not tight enough. He's still a little grubby and could do with a gentle wash, but for his age he's in great shape. I know a lot of you will roll your eyes when I say that he cost me £44, but can you put a price on reliving your childhood memories? Anyway, looking at other auctions for version 2 Snake Eyes with all his stuff shows I did okay, as he could have cost twice as much. In the good old days, the figures like my Commando would have cost £2.25 new, and then a few years later, the articulated ones like Snake Eyes cost around £2.75 each. Then again, a Mars bar cost only about 24p, so think about that for a moment. So yes, very happy with Snake Eyes, and I'm slowly building up his roster of teammates, so more Action Force and G.I. Joe related videos to come. Until the next one, bye bye!